Live.
We are live.
Give it just a second so I can close out.
I see Dr. Brendel made it.
Hi, Robert.
That's funny.
Okay, go ahead.
He can see you.
Are we ready?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's call this meeting to order. It is 7:05. All board members are present and all administrators are in attendance, as well as Tammy Lear and Mr. Oliver. With that, we will all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible. Mission statement: the Viroqua Area School District provides a quality education for all students that inspires continuous learning, positive relationships, curiosity, and compassion in an environment that welcomes diversity while developing respectful and responsible citizens. With that, item number 4, is there, would anyone like to make a motion for approval?
3 or 4?
We are on 4.
Yep.
Oh, there's a motion.
I'm on.
Anybody?
I'm just need to, I was on the.
Here, I'll start this one.
First.
Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda, approval of agenda, proof of public notice, December meeting minutes, voucher summary 1 in the amount of $255,381.34. Resignations: Randy Gabrielson, bus driver; Christina Bauer, special education para; appointments: Heather Wildenberg, cook server; Stephanie Ivy, 8th grade girls basketball coach; Maggie Albright, 7th grade girls basketball coach. I entertain a motion for approval.
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments or questions? Any discussion? With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. All right, Kim and Robert, do I have an aye?
Yep.
Yeah, yes.
Okay, perfect. Opposed, and this is going to be a little clunky, just so everyone knows, and that's okay. Anyone opposed? With that, motion carries. The next item is the audit report, and we have Kim here tonight. I don't know if Mike, you would
Sure,
like to introduce?
This is Kim Hollerman from Johnson and Block, who completed our audit back in August of this year. Yeah, she'll get into a little bit during her presentation. The single audit is still, the guidance on the ESSER funds still have not been completed. So we're not technically completely done with the federal awards portion of the audit. But our audit was issued in compliance with the DPI's requirements of December 1st and everything, and this will be her summary for this. Kim, do you need to share your screen?
Yeah, it says host disabled.
Okay, Beth. I'm gonna say there. Now try it.
Okay.
Real. Kim, you can take it away.
Okay. So as Mike said, we completed our audit for June 30th, 2021 and issued our normal, clean, unmodified opinion. And again, like he said, we did not issue the single audit report yet. We're hoping that compliance addendum gets released soon so we can finish that up, but we haven't really heard a date. The district expended about 2.9 million of federal funds, which required that single audit. As of right now, we'll just have the one finding for segregation of duties that you've had.
She froze.
Oh, no.
Mike,
Yep.
would you like to carry on?
I mean, hey, Kim, are you still there?
He's probably gonna have to go out and come back in.
Yep.
If you can hear us.
Oh, she's moving.
No, I-
No.
Okay.
Okay. So as you can read here, and you have this in your board report stuff also, the scope of the audit included all the funds and activities of the district. That means that we allow them to see everything that they did do. Management, meaning Tom and I, have reviewed and accepted the financial statements and adjusting our journal entries prior to issuance. Here she comes. She'll come. Which she was sharing her screen, so I just have to jump on mine now.
Love technology.
It does make everything fantastic.
She's bouncing in right now.
Are you there again, Kim?
She's muted.
So I was able to attach to the board and in your handouts for those that are in attendance tonight. We have this separate audit communication document designed for the Board of Education, and key management has also been submitted. It should be read in conjunction with the financial statements when you get a chance. And Kim, are you there again?
I think she's muted.
You're muted.
Unmute yourself.
She's trying so hard.
Can I do that?
I don't know.
Maybe if you go over to her.
Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Yes.
Yes, you're up, Kim.
Okay. So,
So I got down to the separate audit communication.
okay, and did you go into detail on that then, those two items?
Nope, not those two. Yes.
Okay, so there were old outstanding checks still out there. I know Mike had meant to work on that, but just didn't get to that. Some of those date back to 2002. So just working on clearing those or having a policy of how to get rid of them. The next one is GASB 87 on leases. This statement got delayed with COVID. It's expected to get, or it'll be implemented for this current year. So for 6/30/2022. So we'll have to you'll have to gather lists of leases. It just kind of changes the reporting on that. And also any leases where you're leasing space will also have to be included. We submitted all your reports to the Department of Public Instruction. And just a note that some of the older numbers are from a prior auditor. Okay, the next page is just your income statement. So the general fund had revenue of 16.7 million, expenses of 16.4 million, other financing uses of 214,000. So an increase of 108,000, an ending fund balance of 4.9 million. And then all the other funds had total revenue of 2.1 million, expenditures of 1.8 million, other financing sources of 245,000. So an increase of 517,000 and an ending of 1.9 million. So overall, ending fund balance of 6.8 million compared to the 5.8 million from the prior year. And then page 4 is your budget to actual for the general fund. So I'm just going to compare the final to the actual. So final, you budgeted 15.1 million in revenue. You actually had 15.6 million. So positive variance of 547,000. Expenditures, you budgeted 13.8 million. You had 14.1. So a negative variance of 252,000. Other financing uses, you budgeted 1.6 million. You had 1.5 million. So positive variance of 113,000 and overall positive variance to budget of 408,000.
And Kim, I'm just going to chime in here. Up under that other sources, that 400,000, majority of that was that adjustment for the self-funded insurance adjustment properly reflecting the accrual from the previous years and stuff, correct?
I think so, yeah.
Yep.
Okay, and the next page is the special ed budget to actual. So you budgeted 1.2 million in revenue. You actually had about 1 million, so a negative variance of 150,000. Expenditures, you budgeted 2.5 million. You actually had 2.3 million, so positive variance of 242,000. So overall, you needed about $92,000 less of a transfer in from the general fund for special ed. Okay, page 6 is a breakdown of the fund balance for the governmental funds. So there was no non-spendable this year. Restricted, you had about 3.2 million, or about 46%, and then unassigned was 3.6 million, about 54%, getting to that total of 6.8 million. The next page is the trend in your fund balance for the general fund. So this has increased about 20% over those 6 years presented, and about a 2% increase from the prior year. Page 8 is a breakdown of the revenue. So 48% came from state sources, 28% property taxes, 16% federal sources, 5% interdistrict and intermediate sources, 1% other local sources, and 2% other sources. And then just a note, the most significant revenue from state sources is your equalization aid of 7.3 million. The next one just shows your property tax levy over those 6 years. It's remained pretty consistent. About 2% goes to non-referendum debt, 14% referendum debt, 83% general fund, and 1% community service fund. And then the next one shows the trend of your equalization aid. So this is based on the average enrollment for the district for the previous 3 years. So it's increased about 12% over those 6 years, and about a 6% increase from the prior year. And this next one shows your enrollment trend. So this has decreased about 8% over 6 years, and about a 5% decrease from prior year. Page 12 is a breakdown of your expenditures. So 53% went to instruction, 32% support services, 7% non-program, 4% debt service, and 4% capital outlay. And then this last page just shows your long-term liabilities. So your long-term liabilities, you had general obligation bonds, a premium on the bonds, and the one capital lease. So you had a beginning balance of 3 million, payments of 658,000, so an ending balance of 2.3 million, and about 634,000 was due in 21-22. And then the debt limit, your debt limit is 67.2 million. You only had the 2.3 million outstanding, so you had about 64.9 million remaining, so a capacity of 96.6%. So that's all I have. What questions do you have for me? Or Mike?
Does anybody have any questions? Robert, you're unmuted. Do you have a question?
Yes, in our fund balance, what amount is for our, or not defined?
The insurance?
For our insurance, and what amount is general fund balance? Probably in there, but
It was, I think.
Yeah, it's in.
Yeah, you had about 1.3 million of it was for the self-funded health insurance.
and in your opinion, that's sufficient enough to cover the outrun of costs?
I guess I don't know the answer to that.
How about a
Yes,
doctor?
Robert, in the analysis that we've done with Funkles, who works on that more often, and that was actually something that did hold up our audit a little bit, was and we're gonna start seeing more of this. Was it the Office of Insurance Commissioner, Kim?
Yeah,
Had put into the audit guidelines for the auditors that we would need to get an actuarial study done, asking exactly that, whether or not our fund was on stable footing. When the DPI and I think Department of Administration, and I do get confused on which departments are, realized that this would be a considerable cost to districts that they hadn't anticipated. Basically, they allowed some other procedures, and one of them was our strong fund balance and where our rates, how the process we go about setting our rates to satisfy that audit requirement. Kim, did you guys have to disclaim that in the audit report, or how did they have you handle that?
I can't remember if we added that sentence in there.
Yeah, there was a lot of back and forth with the state on that, and pushed it right basically till late November till we got that finalized. But no, our plan is, as we talked earlier, previous meetings, is strong financially, but we had to make those changes to keep it that way.
So Mike, is there a percentage? Do they say that you should have a certain amount
They like to
per person, or what's the,
ultimately the
Formula.
ultimate goal is to be able to pay your run out, which is basically a month and a half of claim costs, so that if you ever switch to a fully insured program, now you're not collecting premiums in anymore, but you're still going to have all these costs. You know what I mean? So that's what we try to do as a lag report and see where we're at on that to try to bring that through.
okay. Are there any other questions? Thank you, Kim, for being willing to present tonight. And when I was looking through it, it said that our staff was very helpful and got you any information that you needed. And there's anything that we need to know other than what's in this report right now, is there anything else you would like to share as far as collaboration or workability with our administrative team?
No, I mean, it's always a pleasure working with everybody there. I unfortunately didn't make it there in person this year, but they worked very, very well remotely with me.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you, and Happy New Year to you.
Thanks, you too.
So Mike, is there anything else you wanted to add?
Nope.
All right. Thank you, Mike,
Yep.
for all your work.
Yep, she'll need to stop sharing, and
Okay.
and then Kim, you can leave.
You don't have to
Unless you
hang
want to
tight.
stay.
Figure
And
out
I'd like to thank Becky too. I believe Becky's very involved in the process.
Becky and
in
April and
April. So,
her staff, she brings a good staff, and like she said, auditing has changed. They are able to do some virtually, but they still needed to have people in-house and check.
It's easy to use. It'll stop sharing.
Stop sharing. Do I have to do this?
No, she can just leave.
and then it'll-
Okay,
it'll
just
stop.
leave, Kim. I'm
So-
sorry.
so while that's up there, I think we can go ahead and have our student report. So if Camden and Cammie would like to speak. And I'm going to have you two move forward a little bit because the microphone is right here so that people can hear you a little bit better. Thank you.
to the front.
Perfect.
Right there's
And
great.
then
Yep.
you can look right at the camera there. Outstanding, outstanding. Thank you.
Okay, so some things going on at the high school level. This is the final week of the second quarter. So everyone's kind of getting ready for finals and getting ready for the next semester to start and the new classes.
And then February 7th through 11th is Student Council's Cabin Fever Week, where we have a bunch of dress-up days. And then that Friday, we go do fun things like some people go bowling or go to a movie, or some just stay and play games for resource. It's a lot of fun on that Friday.
Another thing going on, the underclassmen and the 8th graders are starting their registration for the next coming school year. So I know that's a big deal for them, kind of figuring out what classes. As far as I know, everyone's excited.
And seniors are busy making post-secondary plans, getting ready for graduation. Exciting time. I know I'm excited. I'm pretty sure Kim is excited.
Right now, over in the band room, there's a meeting, a parent meeting for the New York DC trip. I'm actually not going on that, but I know Cami is, so
Yeah.
if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, so that meeting's just like not a finalized, but a informational meeting about some protocols that will be instituted for kids that want to go. And just some like ideas for how much like money is going to be put in there, how much end costs will be once everything gets finalized, and all the fun we're going to do when we go.
And then lastly, just kind of a report on the girls hockey team. They're kind of rolling right now. They lead their conference in points. And I know they had a nail-biting victory the other night, so I know they're really happy about that. Other than that, a lot of sports are getting kind of delayed, but I think everyone's coming back and we're going to start up strong again. So that's all good.
Any questions for our students? Were you saying something, Vicki? No. Nope. What are some of the dress-up days? Do you know yet? Has that not been defined?
I'm not sure
I'm
yet.
not sure.
I
I don't think they've been finalized.
Okay. So we would like to wish you much success in your finals. So you are more than welcome to stay. And if you need to scoot out, please feel free to do so. And Happy New Year.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks
you,
for coming
guys.
tonight. Good luck.
Maybe
I
they'll
should say
have
good
dress
luck.
up like
I
a
should-
doctor.
What? What did he
Maybe we
say?
could have dress up like a doctor for Cabin Fever Week.
Have a good night.
Oh, Tom?
Uh-huh.
So the next item is Spotlight on Education. So we have Eric here tonight. Thank you for coming tonight.
No problem. So I just threw some notes together. Currently, I work with around 40 students per day. That includes 2 school success classes that are 42 minutes long. And that includes about 30 students total. Things that we do, basically, we work on daily monitoring of assignment completion, test prep, organization, time management skills, basic study skills with a lot of those kids. The group I work with spans all 4 grades, from freshmen to seniors. These are students who are either credit deficient, have attendance issues, or previously have failed a class. I work closely with the students, the guidance counselor, Jenny Schneider, and the teachers on a daily basis. A lot of these students we're kind of playing catch up with. Online and hybrid working the last year and a half didn't work for all kids. So these are kids that we're working hard to get them re-engaged in school, re-engaged in their learning, and trying to get them back on track. So that's kind of what I'm doing. Questions for me?
Anyone have any questions?
How would you rate your success there, Eric, and working with generally?
I feel like there's nothing's ever 100% successful. There are kids that, I could say after first quarter that hadn't passed a class in a year and a half that pass all of their classes first quarter. I feel good about that. There's always going to be some kids that need to work a little bit harder and get on board, but I feel good about what we're doing, and I feel like it definitely is having a positive impact.
Thanks for what you do, Eric. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
How does it work, Eric, with, do they spend the whole day with you or do they attend certain courses?
So basically, the student success classes are part of our skinny classes. So those are the 42-minute classes, one's before lunch and one is after lunch.
I see.
So those kids come to me every single day.
And it's a different group.
Yep.
Just kidding.
Yep. So I have about 15 or 16 kids that come before lunch for 42 minutes and then after lunch, 42 minutes with a different group of students. So it's consistently them coming every day. So, you know, I can do weekly progress reports with them. I can do weekly missing assignment reports with those kids. I can track them on Skyward and give them reminders. So yeah. And then I also have, in the morning, I have a couple of kids that come to me early and then a couple in the afternoon as well. And I'm also doing the dean of students stuff as well. So.
Okay. Wonderful. So thank you for that. Anyone else? I hope it's a huge success and that one day it's not necessary, but it's always going to be a little bit necessary. So thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely something that's always going to be necessary.
Right.
Yep.
And it's also a lot of it's mentoring and, you know, building those relationships with individuals. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
I think one thing with Eric and his particular skill set is it's really unique to this position. One, not just anybody can step in and be successful in this type of role. And one is developing relationships. Well, it seems natural, Eric, I guess I should say. You work very hard at it as well. But I think Eric's got a unique ability to connect with kids and still have high expectations, which is, again, not always a natural piece to have both. So that lends itself extremely well to students that need to have that, to have both that connection with this particular teacher and be able to hold them to high expectations. So thank you, Eric. I appreciate it.
I've seen Eric over the years being very highly motivating to all of the students that have worked.
Well, actually, in 1995, when I started here in Viroqua, this is what I did and did this for about the first 5 or 6 years before I got into physical education and athletic director. So I kind of came full circle.
In the same class?
In the exact same
Well, thank you. And Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you.
Appreciate it, Eric.
And the next item doesn't look like we have any public comment. Beth? No? Perfect. Action items. Is there a motion for item number 9A?
I move to approve the voucher summary 2 in the amount of $259,011.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. I don't know if we can, do something. Robert, do we have an aye?
Yes. Aye.
Awesome. And I will abstain. And with that, we will go on to job descriptions, number 9B. I'd entertain a motion.
I move to approve the Community Engagement Specialist and Early Learning Center Director job descriptions.
Is there a second?
Second, Marina.
Any discussion? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. I think we're good, but let me know if we're not. Anyone against, let me know. The next item is item C, 9C. I entertain a motion for item 9C. That's right. We're going to table that. So with that, so that no one has any concerns whatsoever on this particular topic, we would like to give a clean copy to everyone. There's a couple of just dates and using the word contract instead, and There was a question about a holiday component for Krista that wasn't included in your contract, so there's probably something that should be added about that in your contract. And there was another item that had to do with necessary certification and licensure language, just to make sure everybody had the proper licensure, and that should be included in the contracts, but nothing else, nothing to concern anyone over. Just want to make that very clear, that we are going to table that, and hopefully we will vote on that in our earlier February meeting, just to let everyone know. And then the next item is D, the 2022-23 open enrollment spaces.
I move to establish a 2022-23 open enrollment spaces as follows. Unlimited availability for VES, VMS, or VHS in grades 4K through 12 regular education and special education. Early childhood 1 space, elementary 2 spaces, middle school 1 space, high school 0 spaces. Charter school enrollment as designated by each school.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second. No, give it to Matt.
Second by Matt. Any discussion? No? With that, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries. WASB resolutions. Tom, would you like to share your recommendations?
I did share them last month
Yes,
as well.
nothing's
so
changed.
Nothing has changed from my recommendations.
Excellent.
Would be the same recommendations as last month.
Okay, with that, entertain a motion for the WASB resolutions.
I move to approve the WASB resolutions as recommended to give the board delegate direction when voting at the school board convention.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Have a good time, Matt.
Thank you.
All in favor, vote by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? And we look forward to hearing how that event goes. It was also noted that it could be virtual if something comes up and you need to change it for some reason. So thank you. Motion carries. The next item is policy updates.
I move to approve the policy updates as listed on the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Any discussion? With that, I do have one question, and it is on the gifts, grants, and bequests 7230. On that one, I did speak to Tom and Beth earlier today. We did add the word in the third paragraph, all gifts, scholarships, or bequests. And I am wondering if in the second sentence in that same paragraph, if under the district administrator may accept for the board gifts, scholarships, or bequests of lesser, if that should have the same word after I read through it the 18th time.
Mhm. Yep, we can add that.
If that is
If that's what everybody is. Yep.
okay. I don't know if we need an amendment. No?
No, we'll just add that. to
Just
the-
add that scholarship for consistent language.
And that was, you guys have historically voted on that, even though it wasn't necessarily in policy to do so. So that would be, essentially just lumping that, scholarships in with all other gifts that are given to the district.
So I know the scholarship that I give, I write the check to the school district. So I didn't exactly know how that would work for people because it isn't a gift to the school, it's a gift to the student, but the checks are written to the school. So that's why I thought maybe that one should be added. It's a little clunky. So with that, all in favor, vote by saying aye.
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 Great. Opposed? Motion carries. And now you can all mute if you'd like, because we are done voting. Thank goodness. Information and discussion, new scholarships. Tom, would you like to speak to those?
Well, thank you guys for approving scholarships to be a part of the update instead of voting, as you just recently did. So we have two scholarships that are new, and that the first one is the Century 21 scholarship. And when we're looking at that, we're talking about the Century 21 affiliated scholarship, and that'll be going in the amount of $1,000 to a high school graduating senior and who is advancing into education or training or education training program in general. So we're really obviously very excited about any new scholarship, but this one in particular. The second one is from VMH, which is a VMH scholarship. And that'll be $1,000 again for one recipient per year. And that's given to, high school graduate to provide them for anybody going into medicine, nursing, or any other healthcare industry. So very excited for those two scholarship opportunities for our students. And again, showing what an outrageously generous community that we have to continue to increase our scholarship offerings for our students.
Thank you. The next item is the Bigley Pool. Mike and Tom?
Yeah, so we are going to fill the pool on Monday next week, the 24th. So this has been a
Cross your finger.
no, we will. I don't care if I have to go down and start pouring a cup of water into the pool. We will be filling it on Monday. This obviously, when you're filling that amount of water, it's a coordination with the city to make sure that we don't have any other issues with water throughout the city with pressure and anything like that. So it is a coordinated effort. But in particular, a big shout out to Terry and his crew for jumping through all of these hurdles that he's encountered with getting materials, getting them installed. And then it's the trial and error part of, hey, we need to run something and then, see if something breaks because the pool has been sitting for so long. And so we are at the point where we are ready to fill that. And that is incredibly exciting. Mike, can you talk about the YMCA agreement?
Yep. So the YMCA has been working with their legal team as we had submitted to ours. And one of the things that they had brought up was on the insurability. And it's not that they were trying to get rid of insurability, who was the primary insured. They actually, I think, wanted to be declared the primary insured so that, they were in control of their employees, their situations, and that they weren't, to avoid some finger pointing later. Obviously, they needed to get their carrier to agree to how that should be worded. And then we'll also have to get our insurance carrier involved in that. So that's really the only sticking point that's really left on everything else that we had redlined and they had redlined and sent back and forth. So that should be wrapped up. We were hoping, they were trying to finalize that late last week. I was hoping, outside chance I'd be able to tell you it was finalized today, but I did not hear back from them that it was. So in the next couple of days, that should be taken care of. We will need to post for a part-time custodial position responsible for general cleaning and light maintenance at the pool. That is part of the agreement that we will be, cleaning the pool. We're estimating right now 4 hours per day. Maybe flexible based on operating hours. It might be more of an evening thing or it might be midday, just depending on where our actual usage gets used. I mean, we don't have to have a custodian there the whole time the pool is open. The guards will take care of some of the light maintenance and cleaning, including vacuuming the pool at nights and stuff. And then, the deck has to be power scrubbed once a day and everything like that. So in the bathrooms we'll need cleaning and everything. Right now, and I'm going to say this because we actually, they turned the screws to us and we turned the screws on them, and we came up with an opening date of February 28th, 2022. I guess the reason for putting out this far is the Y obviously couldn't hire a manager and then have them sitting while we were waiting to fill the pool. So now that we are ready to roll and everything is moving forward, they will be posting that. If they didn't already post it today, they will be posting it in the near future. And if everything goes smoothly, we may be able to open sooner. But that was the date that we all agreed on was a real good date to shoot at. 'Cause we still have a lot of things to iron out. The rates we're going to charge, how it's going to be, you know, the Y is going to take care of all that, but we're going to have a big input as to, I mean, we are putting significant tax dollars into this. So we want to make this affordable, but yet we want it to be able to sustain itself too. So, you know, but they will have to administer whatever is decided for rates and operating hours and everything. So we're going to start meeting weekly and just have our checklist. And so if people have questions or that type of thing, I'll certainly take them and I'll bring them to that group and we'll try to hammer out as much of that as we can before we open up. But right now we all agreed to a date of February 28th, barring, you know, a pump going out or something like that, that we just can't foresee,
Yep.
you know.
So it's incredibly exciting. And I really do appreciate everything Mike has done, you know, in working with the Y as well and being a primary contact for that agreement. And it's been, again, a learning experience like we have had multiple, you know, throughout the year. But we're really excited about this partnership and the ability to be able to run our pool year round, which we haven't done in a long, long time. So
Now, I would hope that we'll have a formal announcement with the YMCA closer to early to mid February, you know, explaining to people how you can sign up for memberships or, you know, what they're going to cost and when we hope to be open, a schedule of some sort and that type of thing. So they're going to want to be part of that promotion and you know, involved in it also.
Yep.
They're really looking forward to operating in Viroqua.
yes.
I think they look at this as an opportunity for, you know, possible even more expansion in the future. So it's exciting for them too.
Do you know how that's going to be incorporated into our classes or our students?
Yep. And that's a good question. That was one of the things that as we were talking that kind of came up, I said, okay, now once you take over, can our Phi-Ed class come in and use the pool?
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, yes, the answer is, but they will have a lifeguard because I mean, they've got a liability and they've got a risk. And so once we finalize our, you know, basically we have to follow their rules.
Yep.
You know, I mean, so, you know, if our, not to pick on Mr. Benzing, but if our cross country team wants to work out in the pool, he's going to have a Y lifeguard. And that could be somebody that's already on our staff that is working for the Y.
Sure.
But they have to be comfortable with the person that we have, you know, lifeguarding. And I think that's reasonable. I think it's not their pool, but they are running the pool.
Right. Thank you. Any other questions?
So
Well,
the
that's-
same mandates for mask and everything are similar there in that facility as is for the rest of the school?
I would assume so, Robert. We will use their expertise as to what they've found has worked up at the Lacrosse Aquatic Center up there and how they're doing it with our rules in place. I mean, I would assume just like we would any place else, if come end of February, we're still in the same situation we're in now, while you're in the locker room, while you're, you know, maybe not while you're in the water.
Right.
I mean, I don't know what I don't think they swim in masks, but I don't know. I don't know.
Yep. Good question though.
Yep.
Any other questions? All right, with that, we will move on to the district administrator update.
Yeah, shorter update for me tonight. I know you're all very sad about that. Really exciting news. We did close on the 601 Arena Drive property, the former Fairhaven building, on December 23rd, and we had 3 board members present. So thank you to those 3. I believe it was Amanda, Robert, and Angie that were there. Great and smooth process. That particular day, everything, you know, it's once you've done all the work, it's a very interesting day because it was kind of, I don't know, Not anticlimactic. I mean, it's just not
A
it's just all that work is done before that. And then you go and you do your signings. And so I appreciate everybody making time for that. As we're going through, we are now going to be posting for that ELC director position that you approved the job description of this evening. And we're incredibly excited to get somebody on board as soon as possible, because as we were walking through and we had our last we had an admin meeting over there was that 2 weeks ago now. We have all sorts of ideas and thoughts, but I've not run an early learning center before. I'm not sure if I'm the right person to go, yep, that wall needs to go and that wall needs to stay. And so we are looking at for input from our early childhood program, as far as continuing to make sure we're identifying the right community needs within the district and throughout the community, and then moving forward on getting a director in place to really help us create that. This job is a big job to open up a center like this. And the person that is hired for this is going to need time to establish not only, pieces of enrollment and but you're talking staff handbook, you're talking licensure, you're talking all sorts of community connections on top of, just doing the typical, you're starting a new job. So we're really looking for this person to be a founder of this process, and very excited to get somebody on board. So we will go ahead and open that, and then we will keep you guys up to date on the, when we have an, interview scheduled and whether we have for applicants. But that's really the next step on top of that, seeking that feedback from our early childhood program and what resources we currently have available and what we're going to need in that building. So again, I can't, it's a great space, and we're incredibly excited to offer our community this opportunity. Any questions? Yeah.
Is there, I know this is probably too soon, a projected opening date?
Too soon for that. What I don't want to do is get into guessing, not only with construction timeline right now, but also with opening timeline. These things take time, and it would depend on, how many kids we're talking about. It depends on, there's different thresholds of licensure. And so again, we've got to look at capacity of not only the building, but the community, and then look at into, I can give you more of a timeline when we have a director on board.
Perfect. Thank you. Any other questions? It's very exciting. All right.
When is the director applications due by?
Well, we haven't posted yet, but it'll be at least a couple weeks that it would stay open. At least a couple weeks, Robert.
Okay, thanks.
Do you have any idea what it looks like for the number of people that could perhaps apply for this type of a position?
It really depends. So ours is going to be a little bit more unique than a typical just childcare center director, because we're asking for that community engagement piece as well. So it'll be a little bit more unique than just that typical hire, which we'll see. I don't know if that increases the, the engagement that we're going to have, or if that, kind of softens that a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. Typically, I think you're probably looking at 4 or 5 applicants throughout the state would be probably where they've been, somewhere in there.
Okay.
And these are district employees
Yep.
that we hired,
Yes.
full benefits.
Yep.
All right, thank you. Administrative reports. You know what? I'm going to ask who would like to go first because, well, Jason's on all 3. So would you like to go first, or do you want everyone else to speak to their topics?
I would love to go first.
There you go.
So, as the kids mentioned earlier, some of these things, so we are in the midst of scheduling already for next year. Mrs. Schneider was out in classrooms last week for the 8th graders. At 5:30, she hosted a Zoom today for 8th grade parents. to go through, and I think we had 30 some there. We actually do have quite a few 8th grade parents that have had older children go through the system before and know the process fairly well. So, so that was fairly well attended. And then I think those are already due the 1st of February, I think, is when those are coming in. So, and then following that 5:30 meeting, Laurel had a virtual open house at 6 o'clock as they start their process. As a charter school, they do take applications, do interviews. I think their applications are due the end of March for Laurel. We also have Better Futures. As a charter school, Better Futures, we kind of do more on a monthly basis for Better Futures. Between the 4 districts, we have monthly meetings where we have graduation interviews and then new enrollment interviews when we have spaces open up. So, so those kind of go periodically, more at the quarter breaks, but we definitely have some more, and we have Thursday, the next meeting coming up for that. So co-curriculars, Camden mentioned it a little bit. We've had some pauses in the co-curriculars, COVID related, as is not surprising. Different ones we've been more forced to, others we've just had a break in the schedule and thought, hey, let's not have practice for a day or two. So between Joe Ellerbush and Tom and Mike and I have been in quite a few discussions with different things, and just, you know, making sure that we're trying to be consistent and do a fair amount of rescheduling. And I think every school is going through different degrees of it. So, I mean, the schools have been very open to and flexible with us. And it's just, it's what we go through, and the kids have been great as far as it goes too. So, and then semester change, like I mentioned, Thursday's the end of the semester. We, despite the snow day, we are going to keep Thursday at the end of the semester. Due to some of the numbers last week, we're going to probably have to keep the grading window open a little bit later than we normally do. We usually close up the grading window pretty closely. But with some kids being gone, we had a big influx of kids back in today, which was great to see. But we probably will keep the window open a little bit longer just to make sure that everybody gets their handbook allotted time to get their assignments in and finish strong. And just working hard, and, you know, just to piggyback on Eric's presentation earlier, I think it's just great to see that program. I know Krista was over subbing for Eric a couple of days too, and to think that to some degree, some of those students have been the hardest ones to motivate or get to work at times. And Krista could probably vouch for, like, Eric's got that pretty fine-tuned machine, and those kids work hard in there, and they come in, they know what they have to do in there, and they just do a great job getting to work. So that's been a great positive to the high school, and we're looking forward to, you know, finishing out the semester. This is the time of the year that we have to determine the academic excellence scholarship and the technical excellence scholarship. That's all after this, what's considered the 7th semester of high school. So there's a lot of processes that go into play, but it's a year we're getting through everything. And like I said, the students have been extremely flexible, and the staff, and we just will adjust and keep giving kids opportunities, and they're doing a great job fulfilling things. So.
Thank you. It's a lot. These students have been through a lot, and the teachers and administrators, you know, during the last 2 years. So have a lot to be proud of. So John, would you like to speak next?
Yeah, sure. I won't repeat a lot of it since Mr. Rudislo does some follow-up lessons too. It's interesting. Eighth graders are so mature and so ready and so excited. Vocabulary such as prerequisite and some of these essential terms that are really pretty basic to us are brand new to them. They are excited. Now wait, because how their minds work, their 4-year plan, they can take math first, second, you know, semester, and the third semester, and then they're done with that. Then their whole junior and senior year is pure elective. And it just doesn't quite work that way. Look at it in that reality sense. So, but it's exciting. It's really exciting to watch. The one thing that is kind of sad is the Western tour. We call it the Career Days or lacrosse. Well, I think Western organizes it all, is canceled again this year. It's really unfortunate because it's a wonderful event to, talk only goes so far, to get the students to actually be on site, to go through the different disciplines in the campus of Western is fantastic. It really gives kids a different vision because they recruit, you know, sometimes a freshman, sophomore biology major at UWL, that's a huge recruiting class for Western. They recruit from so many different angles. So it's just awesome to get kids on site to see what that really is. Because if you've never been there, it's pretty amazing the facilities they have and the programs they have. So, but that's canceled in this year because of COVID, obviously. So, so that's really unfortunate. But otherwise, our semester change is really pretty basic. It's specials classes only. So everything else keeps going strong. So pretty brief. So, but it's big for the 5th and 6th graders because we'll take the students on a tour to show where those new classrooms are at. They still get lost. So cute. It's awesome.
Well, maybe it'll be possible in the spring or something to not do something with a huge group, but to take some of our students to some of these campuses. Hopefully, maybe.
Yeah.
That would be
it is.
trip of some sort.
Yeah, I think it just so much gives them like a real picture, a real vision of you know, all the way through high school. And what do you want to do after high school? Like, where do you want to go? What are you thinking? And it's hard. It's hard until they've seen it, touched it, kind of really have a context of it. So.
And the schools have virtual tours, but still, it's not quite the same. Yeah. Thank you, John. Pat, would you like to speak to the charter schools?
Sure. Just briefly, our Montessori enrollment starts February 1st and goes through the February 25th. So that's when we start having one foot in this year and one foot looking towards next year already, which is kind of crazy to start thinking about, but also exciting. So we will, that's already on the Montessori webpage, which is under the district webpage. Information's there, but we'll also be starting to promote that a little bit, which my understanding is VAMS typically hasn't had a need to promote. You know, we don't want to step on the traditional 4K and traditional schools' feet, but we also realize if we want to diversify our enrollment, we need to get the word out there besides just word of mouth of current parents. But our enrollment is strong. We're basically at capacity now, but we've got the incoming 4K and people always move or change districts. And part of that is the child find screening for early childhood 4K, and which also includes the 4K going into Montessori, which was mailed out today, which Kathy's department works really hard on instead of having our traditional child development days that I'm still waiting to see. Next year we'll have that in person.
In case you're wondering, they're still developing.
Exactly. It was exciting to bring.
We just don't know where they are.
Right. It's tricky, but they did a great job of rounding up people and finding those needs that we can meet, and then scheduling those families to come in at individual times rather than all at once. So yeah, it's exciting to start thinking about next year already. Kind of scary at the same time.
Maybe it'll be easier.
There we go. Let's go with that.
I like that. Any questions for any of our administrators?
They've had, we've done people next year for like months. So.
Jason's always looking.
Of course you have.
Today, Jason's always looking ahead.
Well, thank you all for that. The next item is the board report, WASB legislative update. I know that Tony Evers did not pass some legislation that had to do with school funding, but it had to do with the state paying for more of the tests. And that was why he didn't vote to approve it from what I've read, but it's somewhat controversial now. So that was one piece of legislation that pertains to us, and I don't know where that will end up at the end of the day. The state convention is this week. I know Matt is attending, Tom is attending, and are you attending? No. And so many of us are attending virtually as well. So I look forward to hearing what everybody gathers out of that when we come back. And Matt will be our representative for the resolutions component of the convention. And the school board election is Tuesday, April 5th, and there will be 4 names on the ballot: Ben Gold, Marina Apt, Patricia Belkey-Becker, and myself, Angie Lawrence. So we hope that everyone in the community will vote on Tuesday, April 5th, or absentee. And then the board is going to have a workshop on Wednesday, February 2nd. And there will be a couple of other items on that agenda too, for approval, just because of some things we did not approve this evening. And with that, if you have a definition of student success, please forward that to Beth as soon as possible. And that will be one of the topics that we discuss moving forward. I will also say that we have been planning this community event, and Tom and myself are going to be meeting with Drew to discuss that and what that might look like moving forward. And I don't know what that's going to look like moving forward this particular year, which is very disappointing, possibly, but we're doing the best that we can and rescheduling as the rest of the world is. With that, I will have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
And a
And
second.
Pat's got plenty of extra time now, I understand. He doesn't have to root for the Cowboys.
Had to get that in there, huh, Robert?
Hey, that was a close game. Is there a second?
Not
Do we have a second?
Is there a second? All in favor, vote by saying aye. Aye.
Hi.
Thank you for everyone's patience, and thank you to the administrative team that wished me a happy birthday. I greatly appreciate your video that you made. It was very entertaining, and Beth for organizing.